Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Friday. It's October the 11th. It's only a little after 11. I'm doing this kind of early today. It's actually 11:25 or so, and I hate to do it this early because there's probably going to be some more good price action coming up here. Some opportunity to make some money, but it's Friday, and it has been such a great trading day. I mean, this is just a classic uh, spiking channel here. It looked a lot like a trading range early on, but you can see it's clearly a channel working here. And I know I'm not the only one that saw this. It's really exciting when you get traders um, that send you emails, and they're all excited because they're seeing the exact same things I'm seeing, and they're having success with this. And I mean, this just shows you. I mean, I drug in here a little bit late this morning. I got here. Um, I almost didn't get here till almost 9 o'clock today, and I mean, it's just an example. You don't have to trade all day, and you don't have to take a lot of trades. I mean, here it is. I was through by 11 o'clock, and I got here at 9, so that's 2 hours. Had a great trading day. Probably actually, it was probably the best trading day I've had in a couple of weeks. Because I caught some great runners and didn't have to, just a really good trading day. And, and I just, it's really exciting when other traders are having the same success, and it just, reinforces that what we're seeing here, you know, other people are seeing the same things. You have to learn to see it, and it takes time. And, but in 2 hours time, you know what I'm going to do today against my better judgment? I normally don't show my performance or my trades and things like that. But I'm just thinking it was such a great day today, and it was so easy, and it only took a couple of hours that I'm considering showing, what, and this is not, I don't think I'm going to do that. I just prefer not to do that. I shouldn't have opened my big mouth here. You know what? What the heck? I'm just going to show you. Let's just show you here. There's my profit for the day, almost 3 grand. No, I don't do that every day. This was an exceptional day. It says I took 13 trades there. I didn't. I only took 3 trades, but I think it's the way the runners, the way it exited them. Sometimes it doesn't exit them all at one time, and that's why this stuff is so. You can look at it, and the only thing that really matters at the end of the day is you know, your percentage profitable and your profit factor, I think, because the way NinjaTrader adds this stuff up, and I actually had a couple of runners taken out at break even on one set, and sometimes it counts them as lose. Actually, you know what I did? I didn't get it taken out at break even. That's why I didn't count them as losers today. Um, I took them out at break even plus one. And that's the reason it didn't count them as losers. Because that's one thing I've noticed that really will mess up these numbers in here is that if you get taken out at break even, it counts it as a losing trade, even though, because I got a scalp and then just gave a few runners at break even, it's a winning trade as far as I'm concerned because it made me money, but it'll count it as a losing trade against you. So this stuff gets, you know, muddied after time. And really, the only thing that really matters, in my opinion, that you can look at objectively is percent profitable. Well, you really can't even look at that because it skews that quite a bit. Really your profit factor and how much money you made, I guess, in the end is the only thing that really is that valuable out of all that information once you start stacking days on days and you get into long term. And that's one reason I don't like to show all that stuff, and I'm hesitant to even show. And no, I don't make that much money every day. That's not my target. My target's not quite that high. Um, but it was just an exceptional day, so I thought I would show it and just show you that you can come in here at 9 o'clock and trade till 11 and, take a few trades and still make some pretty good money. But let's talk about the trades and then we'll wrap it up. Hopefully you can see this channel. It's really clear. I got it off these highs here. I originally drew it something like that right there. Um, Actually, I originally had it drawn right across those highs right there. And when this turned down, I slid it down a little bit and it fits, and you can see that. So, but starting out, I was trading this range, and so I didn't have this until prices bounced right here, and then I drew this line and I saw, hey, that looks pretty nice, and it fits right there, that bounce off of that, and so I drug it up here, and it fit right across there like so, and so I was ready for it, and that was where my target was on these moves up here. And again, I didn't get started till 9, so that made it real easy. This was my first trade right here. I'll talk about, since I showed my performance today. This was my first entry right here. So this trade, and the real money maker was over here. Opportunity to get long 3 times here and ride these runners all the way to the top. And I was looking for a target. This line up here is my measured move, and you see we've gotten within 1 tick of that. We may not quite get it. We'll just have to see. But if you take this move right here and you measure it and you bring it over to here, there it is. And maybe I just didn't mark it right. Look at there. Perfect measured move. I was trying to sneak an extra tick out of that. And you can see that. There's the first leg. Here's your correction. There's the target, and look where we went. It just, so it happens too often to be chance. That's all I can say. You gotta learn to do this stuff, and it's scary holding on up through here. I'll be honest, I exited at the trend channel because I didn't want to take a chance of giving my money back, trying to get another point there, maybe, or half a point, or whatever it is, up from right here to here. Once we got up here and hit this range, I put my stop right under the first bar, and I got stopped out immediately almost, and then it went straight on up there right to my target. And but it's not worth risking, giving up all that profit for a couple of more points there, because that's just, you don't want to get greedy. I'll leave it at that. And if you draw these short-term trend channels here, you can see that helps you as well. You had this little short-term channel coming up. You got a break. We tried twice to go retest, couldn't do it, made a double top, turned down. That's a little aggressive short, because if you saw this channel, but at this point you could be looking at this as a trading range, and this is a breakout, and so when it couldn't go higher, it's probably coming back. It usually comes back and tests this stuff, and you can see it actually came all the way back trying to test this in here, but it just couldn't get there. This trend line took over and bounced right there. And even if you didn't have this yet, if you didn't have it by this point, I mean, even if you just started right there, you can see that if you didn't have that line by this point, then you got some work to do, because that's obvious, easy to find. You should have had this line down here by at least 907. So, and this was all setting up right after I got my chart. So I got in here about 8:45, 8:30, 8:45 this morning, and fiddled around, and it's been a pretty good trading week, and I wasn't expecting to have that kind of day today, but hey, that's what the market gives you. You got to take it. You don't always get days like this, so take it when you get it, and make the best of it. But then you got your channel coming down, your break, move down to a new low, which of course it bounces right off that line that you should have definitely had by then. It gets back above this resistance, and you can see that was I can't talk, resistance all day yesterday afternoon and this morning during the overnight and early morning hours. And we come back down, we test it once, and then we test it again, and then boom. And I like the second entry long right there once it got back inside and tested it. And I was considering drawing that one green, but there's a little trading range there, and we broke out the top, then we broke out the bottom. So, and with the, the bias is up, so boom, and off it goes. But then you get a failed second entry short off this low right here. And really you could count this even as a new low. So I counted this as a failed second entry short right here as well. because that's a new low that's lower than that. So first entry going up, and then you can't see it, but a little break lower there, second entry fails. But you got this trend line working up, and you got to figure we're probably coming up to here if you found those points. So, but let's talk about the trades, and then we'll wrap it up. And I'm gonna get out of here early. I'm ready to call it a week. It's been a really good week considering I didn't trade money, but I made up for it today. So, but this was the first entry that I saw. You know, normally I start around 7, so I usually start listing trades after about 7 o'clock for the early morning people like myself. I'm an early morning guy, but I've been lazy lately because I've had some personal things going on that's had me distracted and so forth. But from about this is just the overlap. This is just a little tiny trading range at the bottom, finding support here. And really this line, I had it right in, actually I had it right there. I originally had it there, and we broke lower, but it's not really a good setup. But then you get this lower break lower here and this nice bounce up. It's a little aggressive because it's the first entry, but I felt like it was, if you had an idea that there's maybe a trend coming up through here, because you really, even if you'd have just drawn this across those closes right there, you still see it. And it's a little harder for people that don't have experience to be able to do that. And you can see right there, even right there, it fits well right there. And you will get these overshoots in the morning. This is just a spike in channel. We spiked up and went into this channel. And they were trying to keep taking it higher, but they were finding resistance right there. But I believe that's where the line is right there. But anyway, this is a failed break lower. It's aggressive. I drew it in green. Then you got a second entry long. And again, it's aggressive because now you got a tighter channel here. And you can kind of see that. This is worked down. The lows are right there. And you can see that little trading range. So, it's really aggressive entering there. But, hey, you got a new low. You tested it. You got this support across here. You really didn't. This is not a test. It broke through. And then it comes back and tests it again right there at that same level, and then it turns up. So, if you were here and trading that, it's real aggressive, but I marked it because I'm sure some of you saw that as a second entry long. You're taking a chance because it's in this little trading range. But if you want to be aggressive and catch these kind of lows, that's what you have to do sometimes in the trading range. And you could have gone short right here. This was a real good short setup, but that was 6 o'clock this morning. So if you wanted to go short, that's a great setup. Notice that you've tested it. You've got a double top there, and you come up and test it again. And look at that rejection right off that line. And that's another clue here. Prices are not really rejecting off the EMA here. You notice how you hit it and it goes down, but it comes right back. It doesn't go very far, and then it tries to go down again. It comes right back, and then it can't even go down hardly. And each time, and so I would have probably tried to use a limit order in here, and you can see when it broke above that bar, you could have got filled right there at those highs. Off it goes, and then you get a failed second entry short. It's getting a little closer to these highs, but you could, because it's a trap, and if you saw the possible channel, plus you got this little channel going up here. So that's the only reason I marked that one. You can see it struggled mightily. But I would have taken that trade if I'd have been here, just simply because it went below first, then went out. So you really should have gone long right there. And that gives you another extra tick or so. I would have used the limit order on that one. Or no, actually, because it broke out lower and went higher, you'd have a stop sitting right there in case it goes out. And because that, you've got to, that's where their stops are going to start hitting. And but there was still a lot of people trying to sell that. So looking back at that, that's, I might even change that to green. I was really basing it off the fact of that trap, but there's not a lot of room to get out before you get back up here. Let me just see if there's enough. You would have entered at 86 and a quarter. Yeah, there's just enough to get out. So, I still like it now. If there wasn't enough room to get out there with your scalp, without ticking through, I'd have been more concerned about it. and then this is just a little breakout pullback long right here. And you know, we tried to go lower once. We tried to go, and you know, we're kind of confirming this line all the way up here, and it looks like it may be just a little steeper there than what I originally had it. That looks a little better. I was off a little bit, but you know, that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be, but you got to be close. So I mean, I had that conversation with another guy yesterday, and you know, people take away sometimes what they want to hear from what I want to say, and or they don't take away the exact meaning. I mean, when I say that, you know, trend lines don't have to be exact, they got to be real close though. I mean, you know, you can't come in here right here, and you see that channel very clearly how it's holding prices, but you can't come in here and draw it like this. You know, that looks close, but it ain't right. And you know, you might see a little bounce right here and try to go long, and you get burned. And that's kind of what this person did yesterday. And then they says, well, you said, you know, as long as it's close, and you know, the trend lines are subjective. Well, they're not that subjective. So they got it. You don't have to have it exact. Just like I just showed you with this, I didn't have it exact. I think that's more correct right there than what I had originally. But I traded it off what was there originally. So and you come up, you get the break here, you try to go retest, you can't get it, you go down, and you try to make another retest, and now you got a chance to draw this little channel, and you get a break here. And I really thought it would bounce here, but it didn't. It went on down, and but I should have figured that because of the channel. And then guess what? When it bounces right there after the break and a new low here, and you kind of overshot this channel and you bounced right off of that possible channel, you know, I liked it right there, and boom, there it goes. And then you get a little pullback, second entry long, and then you get a failed second entry short. Counting off this low, man, I was really liking it. And looking, that's when it took off. It took a few minutes. They was finding some resistance here, but look at it go. And then this one was more aggressive, but you should definitely see this channel by now. Should be no doubt. You probably should have been looking for your target up here as well. There's plenty of room. It's way away from the EMA, so you know, I'm making, you know, that's aggressive. But if you could see this little smaller channel here, you know, you got to be thinking, hey, we're coming off that again. So, and again, here we go. Notice how I originally had it drawn, and I don't think I got it quite right. That looks like it to me right there. You know, you kind of have to adjust it as you're going, and you can see that fits much better than what I originally had, but I was close. And that kind of changes that right there, and you can see you've been better off to wait and enter right there. Even though there's a failed entry, there's 3 overlapping bars. Of course, you wouldn't have had but 2 overlapping bars yet, but you would know you weren't quite back to the trend channel. And then once it hits, that's where all the smart traders are at. Boom, and look at it go, and look at it again right there. Boom, and then again, boom. And you finally get a break, move to a new high, and guess what? You can hit your target from way that you could have had. You could have had that target, you know, at 22.42. What is that? That's 10.42 last night. Actually, no, I take that back. You couldn't have had that target until you had your confirm. So by 8:25 this morning, once you started going higher, you could have had that target. So make sure I clarify that. But hopefully, you know, you can see how this stuff works. And if you get these trend lines right, you know, I've got another trader that uses some other tools that helps him confirm that the buy orders are there or the sell orders are here, and that helps him with that. I don't know what he's using exactly. I've looked at it, but you know, if you know how to find these lines, you don't need that. You know, I know these are going to bounce here because I know that, you know, it's a confirmed line, and that's and you know, which one is telling you, which one is one of them, which one is telling traders what to do? Is it the tool he's using, or is it the fact that other people see these trend lines, or is it just some kind of magical whoop-de-doo voodoo or whatever? who cares? All I know is it works, and we've proven it over and over and over. So just go with it, trust it, and go with it. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. If you do it often enough, if you find these lines and it tells you what's going on. If you know this target's up here, you got a good idea we're headed there. You don't know exactly how we're going to get there, but if you draw these lines, you got a good idea how you're going to get there. You know that until this little channel gets a break and a retest, that it's probably not over, and you also know that it's probably coming from this side to this side. So that's how you know to go short right there. Otherwise, you wouldn't know, and you really wouldn't know until you get the setup anyway. And notice what that is. You got to move up, a pull back. That's a two-legged correction right there in the middle of two legs. There's your first leg, and your second leg overshot. There it is, and it overshot, and you can see it got overshot the channel and everything. But guess why? Because people were trying to drive it down to here. They were looking at prices coming down to here. They can see this stuff. They know this stuff, and they couldn't take it any lower because all the buyers are seeing this trend channel line coming up through here. So again, I don't know which tool, I don't know why. I just know it works, and it doesn't matter why. It's just like the news. Who cares? Nobody can tell you, even if you had the news in advance, unless it's just some crazy news, it's probably not going to help you because it never does what you think it's going to do anyway. If the news comes out and it says everything's great and glorious, the dadgum thing will sell off. If the news comes out and tells you it's the end of the world, this thing will rally to the moon. So the news doesn't, the only thing you need to know is when the news is coming out, because you don't want to be, you want to probably be flat so you don't get whipsawed or sent to, your account drained. So it doesn't matter what the news is going to say. All we care is when it's coming out, and then once it starts moving, then if you're good enough to read the price action that fast, then trade it. So I hope all that makes sense. I hope this is some stuff that helps you today. And, but I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm going to get out of here and go enjoy my weekend. There's a big ball game here in town this weekend where I'm at. So this place is going to be crazy. Texas A&M's coming to town. So for you Texas guys, hope you guys lose. And hope you win out the rest of the season, though. So, but this is Mac. I'm going to wrap it up with priceactiontradingsystem.com. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.